Hi everybody! The purpose of this video is to help you prepare for the Move/Genre Analysis project and presentation. So I'm just going to review a little bit of what we've discussed so far about how to do a genre analysis. We had a great presentation about the TESOL conference proposal, so that was one example. We've also had lots of other types of examples, like letters to the editor, and then we've talked, of course, about kind of non-academic ones, and maybe sort of less formal ones. As I mentioned, you can choose any genre you like. It could be personal ads. People have done horoscopes, so that there are all different kinds of possibilities. It's up to you. So if you recall from the PowerPoint that I shared a while ago when we started talking about this, the steps basically entailed looking at the overall rhetorical purpose of the genre, what's the big picture, and then looking at the function of each text segment and seeing what the local purposes are of those text segments. These categories are going to emerge after you read texts multiple times and reflect on what it is that you see when you're reading them. And you'll look for common functional and/or semantic themes. So we need at least 2 coders, which is fine because I think we have 3 groups that have at least 4 people per group. And so that means you'll have about 30 minutes to present and probably 10 minutes or so for Q&A after that initial presentation time. So we want to have time to make it as interactive as you like, and for me and your peers to maybe offer suggestions or see if we can compare our insights on what we see and to discuss your general findings. In the past, presenters have sometimes used Prezi or PowerPoint or other visuals, so you could do that if you'd like. But each group will have a handout, like the student handout that I shared with you, which is here. Oh, no, that's the TESOL article. Which is here. Okay, so these files are also on the course site and on Moodle, but I'm just going to show you, this is the sample student analysis handout, and I'll go over this more in a second. I just wanted to point out that remember that you can collect a small group of texts first, initial texts, and look at them individually with each group member, and then create an initial sort of list of categories of moves, come back together, compare your impressions, and then discuss any discrepancies and resolve them. So you may find that you have a lot of commonalities, but there are a few things, maybe moves that could be collapsed because they seem more similar than you thought, or moves that could be expanded. So those are things that will come up in your discussion, and you can sort of narrow what you decide on as you go through the steps with your group. So going back to the student handout, this is just one way to do it, and this isn't really a perfect handout, but it's a pretty good one. Remember, you'll bring enough copies for everyone in the class. And I know you can't see this text well here, but I'm just going to review the parts that they've included. The impetus or the reason they chose their particular genre to analyze, the purpose of the study. These are basically the same thing, but there might be a pedagogical interest for you or some other reason that you've chosen a genre. So you'll just tell us basically about that. What is it that interested you in the genre? What it is you're looking for? You'll probably just have 1 or 2 research questions. And then you'll tell us about your method, depending on how many people are in your group and how you decided to look at the text and to resolve those discrepancies, that type of thing. And then the findings. So when you label your findings and put them into tables and visuals, you'll want to list the name of each move, and then a description of each move and examples, and also tell us about the frequency of the moves. So of course some moves are going to be optional, some are going to be mandatory, but you want to give us a sense of how many times a move tends to occur within this genre, and also a sense of where the moves occur within the genres. We know there's a lot of flexibility, like with the TESOL proposals, but you'll give us a sense of how much or how little flexibility there is in the frequency and the placement of those moves. So frequency and placement are both important. So these guys had looked at letters to the editor, which is what we looked at in class. Remember those very short letters, and we identified a set of moves very similar to what they've decided to label and include here. And then, so they first give, an example of the segments, each one, and then they have their last page is a visual. I think the table could have been presented, vertically rather than horizontally, but you get the idea that they're explaining there's an introduction, body, conclusion, and then it's there's biographical data at the end, and then within each of these sections, there tend to be certain moves that appear more or less frequently. And also they tell us at the end of their handout, they share with us their implications for the study or ideas for further investigation. So you may find there are some linguistic aspects that you might mention if you notice them yourselves, but that could be further explored maybe with a corpus or some other way. So any ideas for future research with this particular genre that you've chosen? And I also just wanted to remind you, reflecting again on the TESOL conference proposal moves that we had looked at together during that presentation. So sometimes it helps when you're labeling the moves if you give them a sort of active description. So remember that they had in the conference proposals found things that they labeled like territory or gap or goal, and in the description they explain what that move is actually doing. So for instance, we have gap. What does the gap do? It indicates that there is a lack of knowledge or problem in the territory. The goal, it's the statement or aim. Okay. The reporting previous research refers to text that reports on or refers to earlier research in the field. The outcomes describes the anticipated results. So you get the idea, a kind of active description. What is it that the move does? What function does it perform when it's found in the genre that you've identified and analyzed? Okay, so I'm going to include these materials on the sites, and what I'd like to do in the forum is discuss any questions that you have and maybe assist you with anything that you need help with as you prepare for your presentation. So I'm looking forward to seeing your presentations the next time we meet face to face.